What's going on, brother Leonard Walker? History Untold 400, folks. It is the Truth Be Told show. It is yours truly, Mr. Just Ask Joe, and my other brother from another mother, brother Leonard Walker. What's going on, family?
Not a whole lot, man. Just trying to hang in here, do my thing. Looking forward to this weekend, you know.
Absolutely.
Chilling with family, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. Well, we got another episode today of the Truth Be Told show. Let's go ahead and get it all started. Folks, once again, it's 9/20/2022, September 20th, 2022, the only one you'll ever get in your life. It's the Truth Be Told.
All right, cue the music.
Cue music.
Start the music.
Starting music.
And go.
It's the Truth Be Told show, where we place America first. Honoring those who America has forgotten. Listen in and unlearn to relearn. As we set the record straight. And now, your host of the Truth Be Told show, Mr. Just Ask Joe and Uncle Nishorn.
All right. Folks, it's another day, a new day. Leonard, you said you can't wait till the weekend. So you got some family stuff going on, kicking it with the family. And you know, and that's good. That's interesting because, you know, I think family or a sense of family is one of the things that's lacking within our culture. Would you say so?
Absolutely. There's not ever been, and I said this before, a successful society or ever nation or group of people that does not have family or some sort of family dynamic at its core. Everything should be designed to funnel down to the success of the family. So if you don't have that, then, you know, all of these problems that we continuously have and these issues that people can continuously talk about, if we're not talking about family, these things will continue and possibly get worse. So
let me ask you a question. Do you think that us as a family or us as a culture of people, that we kick our kids out too soon? You know, that we, you know, I see other cultures and they focus on, you know, the family staying together as much as possible. You know, mom, dad, grandparents, kids all in the same home or homes right next to each other. They stay close. I got friends right now where their parents live in the house next door from them. You know, their parents bought the house for them to move in. They're, you know, and you know, they're Asian. So, you know, it's just kind of seems like with us, we kick our kids out at 18 and say, hey, you got to go. And you know, if you're talking more of a disparaged family situation, then they gone before 18. But nonetheless, it's just kind of a cultural thing. We kick them out at 18, say, hey, go fend for yourself, instead of in a lot of other cultures, they say, okay, go to school or work the family business. You know, you got a choice at 18, but you can stay here, work, save money. And, you know, when you're ready, when you find a person or that you want to marry or whatever, then you move out, start a family. But ultimately, even still, they're not moving that far because it's all about the family staying close. You know, do we kick our kids out too early?
Too early is a relative term because it's not about the age. It's about how prepared these young people are to enter into adulthood, into the world.
So I guess the better question is, do we not prepare our kids well enough before they leave the home?
That's the issue right there. I can tell you, I left home at 18. I just turned 18. In fact, when I left home, and I was ready to go. I joined the military. I joined the United States Army. I already knew that this was what I was going to do. All right. I was an Army brat. So My father, being that he was in the Army, started preparing me, all right, for life on my own, life in the military, that sort of thing, early, So that's the key is, are we preparing our children for college? College, you go from, I mean, you think about college or just higher learning, period. You go from a structured lifestyle where, you got to be in at a certain time, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got, everything, to complete freedom, right?
Right.
So are we preparing our children for that type of a reality? And sometimes we're not, or sometimes it takes longer. I think it kind of depends on the kid. Where's their maturity level? Is this a young person that, is
Yeah,
able?
but doesn't that still go back to preparing the child? I mean, their maturity level is going to be where it's going to be depending upon how they've been prepared and raised up,
Right,
right?
right, right, right. It is. And not all children develop at the same speed and same level. As a parent, you got to know, is my child ready to enter the world on their own? That's just like my son. All right. Um, I told my son, I was like, listen, man, um, you can stay in my home with me, all right, rent free, as long as you go to school. Okay. And hopefully you'll get a job so that you can save money, so that when you do get out there on your own, you got a little nest egg where you can, if you want to get an apartment or whatever, you got the down payment money, you got, all of this kind of stuff. I gave him that opportunity, and he kind of squandered it. Right.
Mm.
So the only thing, so what I had to do is I put him out. He was 21 years old, right? And I told him, I said, listen, man, I'm not putting you out. I'm really setting you free, because he had dropped out of school, wasn't trying to work, and then he was spending, like, 20 to 23 hours up in his room. I was like, that's like being in solitary confinement. I was like, you know what, you need to be kicked in the ass and get out here, and you need a jump start to see what the real world is like. So
Yeah.
he told me, he said, you know what, I have to admit, Dad, I was BSing.
Yeah.
I was BSing around, and I really, was kind of taking advantage of this time, and I needed to get out. I needed to get
Hmm.
on my own to see how things really were. So, it wasn't a thing that I, was like, yeah, man, I just kicked my son out, or something I was looking forward to, because I really wanted him to take the time to, get himself together and take advantage of living here, rent free, bill free. You could bank your money,
Man,
all of that kind of stuff. And
man.
he had to,
If I had if I had a thought, man, I tell you, because I moved out at 17.
yeah,
I was still in high school, and I wish I had of taken that opportunity at the time, and just stayed home. So that's pretty tough. But man, I tell you what, it's yeah, kids, anybody out there listening, listen. If you got an opportunity to stay home and stack your dough,
yeah,
do it. Help out around the house. Go ahead and say, hey, you know what? You working? If you're working, guess what? Go ahead and say, mom, dad, whichever one is there, or both. Here, I'm a chip in, $50 on the electric bill without them even asking. Guess what?
right,
They're gonna be
right.
like, okay, all right, yeah. On my cell phone bill, here's some money on my cell. You know what I mean? All that type of stuff, man. I tell you, I wish I had have just done right when I was younger. I had to hit my head a lot on my own, and it seems like that's just a thing anyway when it comes to young kids or anyway. But either way, man, look, y'all got the opportunity. You need to take advantage of it. What's going on locally or nationally? I know here in Louisville, we've got the Louder Than Life festival coming up this Friday,
Mhm.
which that's a big deal, big music festival coming on. They recently had the parole hearing for the 1997 Paducah High School shooting, and a lot of people came to speak on that, and they said everybody is still suffering. So
Yeah.
they're trying to keep him in jail there. And then we got this national news here as well with Brett Favre and corruption in Mississippi. What's going on with that?
That's a horrible deal. I mean, Brett Favre is kind of the face of what's going on with that. But what they did is him, the governor, the head of human, the head of the state head of human, um, of human services, welfare human services, and a bunch of other people, some lawyers and everybody conspired to funnel $70 million to Brett Favre's project to build a volleyball stadium for his daughter's college, or his alma mater and the school his daughter's going to, which is Southern Mississippi. $70 million in welfare funds, okay, went funneled to college to build a volleyball stadium. Now, building a volleyball stadium, that's okay, that's a good thing, okay, for the school, but the way they acquired the funds was horrible, okay. Like I said, and here's the deal with that.
Now it wasn't done. They were trying to do it, right?
They were well, they had got some monies. Because you got people who got paid. Brett Favre got paid. He supposedly was supposed to do some speeches or something that he never did do, and got $600,000 for that. He's being sued by the state of Mississippi for like I think $1.1 million for some stuff. See, so
wow,
and like this is the former governor, right? Was the one who was trying to set all of this up and got everything, So
Phil Bryant.
There you go. Yeah. See, so like I said, is this is pretty bad. But here's the thing: is you hear about this on sports channels, but you don't hear about it on news channels. Why? Because you have a lot of people that feel like, well, those are welfare recipients. That's the moocher class anyway. So some of that money probably needs to go to better causes anyway. See, so you don't hear a whole lot about it now, but still, irregardless, people need what they need. You've got a lot of mothers and disabled people and all kinds of different people that are trying to fill in the gap, especially now where you got Mississippi, on top of people not getting the SNAP or the different things that they need to sustain themselves or maybe even get into a better situation. On top of that, you got this water issue where, you turn the faucet on and it looks like, black coffee, no sugar, no cream coming out of your faucet, right? So, I mean, it's for a public figure, I think Brett Favre made over $100 million in his career, which is not much by today's standard, but by the standard that he played in, that's huge, okay? I mean, could they have done it a better way? Absolutely. You got friends with deep pockets that could have funded that and got a tax write-off and all kinds of different things. So like I said, this is it's pretty scummy and dirty. And then you look at you got Brett Favre doing this. With the big comparison now is all of the outrage over Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee at the injustices and things happening in America. All right, but this is the type of stuff that he would take a knee over, right? What Brett Favre and his cronies and all of these guys have done to bilk these people, out of desperately needed funds,
Who now hold on. Who had the deflated football?
That was Tom Brady.
Oh, Brady. Okay. Brady, Brett Favre, white guys that play football, it all seems the same to me sometimes. But I'm gonna read a couple of these text messages here. What's up, Better Days with Peter Hayes? Thanks for joining us this morning. Good stuff. It says, if you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? Right. No, we never have had that information publicized. I understand you being uneasy about that, though. Let's see what happens on Monday with the conversation with some of the folks at Southern. Maybe it will click with them, hopefully. Okay, thanks. Wow, just got off the phone with Phil Bryant. He's on board with us. We will get this done. Awesome. I needed to hear that for sure. That's text messages between Brett Favre and Nancy New.
Yeah.
And then yeah, Brett Favre and Nancy New. Who's Nancy New?
Nancy New is actually the state head of the welfare department in the state of Mississippi. So the head of so she's the one that goes after people, or looks into, or the local people when they do welfare fraud, and she manages everything. So one of the things she does is make sure that there is no fraud, and she's involved in welfare fraud to the tune of $70 million herself.
77 million. This is crazy. And I see the 1.1 million welfare contract Favre received to promote the program.
Right.
So I mean, this is crazy. This is some serious high level. We gonna definitely take money from the poor and give it to the rich type stuff, like for reals.
Right. And so here's
any words on that, Peter?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But this is very, very common. When funds get allocated, they'll get allocated for one purpose, and then they get repurposed to another project.
These are those $500 hammers that the government buys.
Yeah. But with Peter, I think to Peter's point is a lot of these projects too. You'll have the main thing. Okay, so you'll have the main cause or the main charity, and then you'll have pork added in. Well, let's raise money and let's spend some money for this, or spend some money for that, spend some get all of these little things, which that happens all the time. This is worse, right? Because this was just flat out the state of Mississippi just refunneling funds to projects and different things from people, like I said, from deserving people. They didn't even try to do a bond or any type of voting issues or anything to say, hey, what's some other ways we can raise this money without touching this money from these other people? All right. And that's what they did. So somebody's going to go to jail. Definitely reputations have been destroyed. Some people might get sued. Yeah, it's a pretty bad.
What's crazy is I know a lot of them are sitting there and they're saying, dude, like, we do this stuff all the time, and they're sitting there like, man, I hope they don't find about the 22 other things that we did. You know what I mean? Because this stuff, this is probably a normalcy in their world. That's the only reason why anyone would even so calmly think to do this, is if, in fact, it's normalcy in their world.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that it warrants the ability to check into a lot of other things as well. And with that being, we're going to...
Yeah, because fundraising, I think, administrative fees and salaries and all different types of stuff, the bulk of the money goes to other places. I mean, it's a money-making venture, all right? People get paid, right? And then, whatever's left over goes toward the actual fund itself. So, so like I said, is I think, what was it, some years ago, because I want to say that A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez was caught up in some sort of scandal as well. I think the number was like, if 35% of every dollar raised actually goes to the fund, then that's normal, or that's good, right? So wait a minute, 65 cents out of the dollars for fundraising goes where? Okay.
Wow.
What does that go? That administrative fees, salaries, supplies, getting stuff done, logistics, all that. And believe me, I understand that things cost money, right, to get done for people. But these things can really turn into money pits real easily, and people can get, fat pockets, dealing with charities and different things like that. So
it's not.
I'll tell you what.
Please,
we're gonna do commercial real quick, and we'll be right back here, folks. It is the Truth Be Told show, so we'll be right back shortly.
Hey folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
Habibi Trading Company, home of soap sticks and Saya Baba products. Over 400 locations at a store near you. Cincinnati, Ohio, Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, Southern Indiana, or find yours online at sayababa.com. Again, that's sayababa.com. Habibi Trading Company, where you can find fragrances to incite your senses.
Thank you, Truth Be Told, for allowing God's Lives Matter to be a sponsor. Wearable Products, as the purple t-shirt, is bearing witness. Every life created by God has infinite value. Visit God'sLivesMatter.com.
All right, cue the music.
Cue music.
Start the music.
Starting music.
And go.
It's the Truth Be Told show, where we place America first. Honoring those who America has forgotten. Listen in and unlearn to relearn. As we set the record straight. And now, your host of the Truth Be Told show, Mr. Just Ask Joe and Uncle Mishorn.
All right, folks. Jumping in here with our Spirit in Action that is going on right now. Let me, as a matter of fact, pull that up, that flyer there. Let's see. This is a Spirit in Action collaborative that's going on right now here in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a gathering of religious and spiritual leaders called by the Spirit to reduce urban violence through justice, healing, and peacemaking. We are inviting every religious and spiritual congregation and organization across our city to help catalyze and lead a movement for a real change. We believe the Spirit is calling us to address the web of causes of violence, name and heal our brokenness, and build an ecosystem for sustainable change. And, talking about urban violence, different opportunities that might be out there for peacemaking, grassroots connection building, all that good stuff. Do we have a couple people out there?
Yeah, we sure do.
So who we got out there?
At the conference, Mishorn Daniels and Marcus Ray, our other two co-hosts, are there participating.
Awesome. So we got Uncle Mishorn there and Marcus Ray. And I don't know if they're going to be tapping in at all today. If they do, then we'll go to that and let them tell us what's going on out there. But, Peter Hayes, you're usually in the mix with a lot of this stuff. Do you think that religious leaders should get involved in social issues like this?
Yeah, I do, especially, I was thinking about the subject last night, and, bear with me for a little bit, but, human beings, we say, are triune beings, meaning we have a spirit and a mind and a body. So we have three parts of us, the spiritual part of us, then the mental, and then the body. And so violence, we're talking about trying to solve violence, is really a body issue, but it starts in the mind. So if people get angry, they're gonna, if they're angry and upset, then that'll lead them to violence. Well, before they get to the mental part, the spiritual part, are they connected to a good spiritual world, good spiritual, God will call creator? Or are they connected to a evil spiritual, which influences the mind, and then the mind influences the body? And it's very important subject object. The mind is subject over the body. The body doesn't decide just to do violence. Starts in the mind. So that's why the spiritual leaders being involved, I think, is very, very important. It's probably the most important. um, Obviously, you need all hands on deck, all the stakeholders in a community. But you know, we talked the other day, and this is deep, is metaphysical, but this is a spiritual and mental problem that relates into body issues. Now, it's interesting because the media and the government, they're all just talking about body issues. It's poverty, it's this, and that, but that really is very superficial because, there's people around the world that are in very extreme poverty that don't commit crimes. For instance, my daughter was in the Peace Corps in Tanzania and Africa, and, she was in a village, and that village has never had a murder ever, and it's, over, you know, it was a Muslim village, by the way, but they've never had a murder in their village. Yet, they
Maybe is that because Christianity is full of murders and war?
no, I mean Islam is too. I mean, obviously
True.
it's a human condition, but the point is, you know,
Christians kill more people.
no, the point is poverty is a factor, but it's not the only factor. Yet we kind of in America, we're getting back to the welfare stuff. The welfare scam is, instead of empowering people to get out of poverty, what they do with welfare is they create government dependence because that's political power and voting. So they're really not trying to solve the issue. They're trying to make more and more poverty. And it's true, as you pour more money into welfare dependency, welfare slavery, you get more slaves. So the point with the violence, yeah, the spiritual leaders should and absolutely need to get involved in that. But they have to be careful because religion can be very divisive as well, pitting different religious groups against each other. So
What, what,
there's
do,
religion, there's
what do you
religious.
think, Leonard? When you look at this, do you think it's the religious leaders' responsibility? I mean, because I'm sitting here thinking about how many churches are in the West End. Usually, you drive in the West End and you can see a church on one corner. You look down to the next block, and there's usually a church a liquor store on the next block. So there's damn near as many churches as there are liquor stores in Louisville's West End.
And
Do
surprising,
you?
Joe, before Leonard pitch it, Louisville Magazine did a study, and there was 3 times as many churches in West
Yep.
Louisville than any other neighborhood throughout Louisville. So, that's very interesting because we're told, and I've visited over 100 black churches in my career because I've been into ministry. The church is the answer, is the path to salvation. Well, if that's the case, West Louisville should be 3 times safer, 3 times more prosperous than any other neighborhood in Louisville, but that's not the issue. So that's a whole nother issue of, the misuse of religion, or the something's wrong when you have 3 times as many churches, but you have, 10 times as much violence and poverty. And unfortunately, if the church is the answer, or what they're doing something wrong if that's the case.
Exactly.
Yep.
When you jump to that, Leonard, think about, is it their responsibility? Do you think it's, if you got all these many churches, 168 churches in the West End, Russell neighborhood area versus 68 churches in the East End, is it the pastor's responsibility, the church's responsibility to focus on violence, especially considering there's so many right there in the midst of it all?
I think you know, one of the things the Bible says is faith without works is dead. Okay, so you have churches that have plenty of ministries, all right. But what are these ministries doing? All right. The whole point of a church is to save your soul. Okay, a church or any type of it's all focused on not the here and now, but the afterlife. Okay, and I get that. All right, but at the same time, you got to be able to go and deal with a hurting world. All right. If people realistically are hurting right now, they're not focused on the afterlife. Right. That's a hard sell. All right. So like I said,
we need
you
more
know,
proof.
we need more proof. Well, it's not just more proof. It's I can't focus on the afterlife. You know, I can't focus on whether I'm going to hell after I die because I'm dealing with hell right now. Okay.
Exactly.
See, so if you're dealing with hell right now, okay, then yeah, I believe that pastors and religious leaders have to get more involved. Do they need to take charge? Maybe not necessarily take charge and be the tip of the spear when it comes to these issues, but definitely they have an important role because churches have resources, they have people. That's the biggest thing is in ministry. I used to be parts of many ministries back when I was involved in my church days. So you have the resources and people to get things done, right? That you need to have done. And if we're not doing that, okay, if only a portion is doing that, then you can't become the transformation or be the beacon of light to draw people into what it is you're trying to draw people into so that they can be transformed into the good people that you want them to be. So like I said, is yeah, there definitely is a place and a role, all right, for pastors and spiritual leaders, all right, within the community. And that has to happen, all right, and it's not been happening. And I think what most people look at is, faith-based community makes hundreds of millions of dollars, all right, per
And
week.
they're getting federal funding, a lot of them too, right?
Right, hundreds of millions of dollars per week, every Sunday. I mean, there every Sunday. Let's just go all the way across the board. We're talking hundreds of millions, okay, every Sunday. And what are we getting out of that? When people are looking at it from a carnal point of view, what am I getting out of, the building fund, or having a nice church, or having some, what's actually happening here? How is this actually benefiting the community? Well, in some cases it does. In some cases, that money just gets. It looks like Joe is frozen. Hopefully everybody can kind of hear us.
Yeah.
Okay, but like I said, people that need money, that need help, that need ministries, that need these things. They're looking at tithe and offerings and all this kind of stuff, and say, wait a minute, the pastor's he's living fat, he's living rich, he's driving a Cadillac, or he's doing this, or he's doing that, So like I said, it's people are really kind of what you see, what you see is going on, and are very. You have to show me something different. You got to prove to me, because that's what the doubting Thomas, or if you just have faith, if you just do this, you just do that, everything will be all right. Well, that it works sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time. So
Yeah, for sure.
right,
Yeah,
right.
one thing I was trying to find this graph, but because I'm in nonprofit world fundraising. So if you took the total pie of fundraising, religious institutions get 70% of all the donations, which is multi billions.
Right.
And then nonprofits, foundations divvy up the other part. But the giving, 70% of all the money given for philanthropy. My tongue died.
Philanthropy, yeah.
Yeah. is from religious institutions. So that's a big part of the pie. So they give a lot of money. But you're right. I think one fundamental issue that Leonard you brought up, which what I see as a flaw when I talk to spiritual leaders is you're right, especially the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all teach that, you're gonna get your blessing really when you die, the old pie in the sky, glory when you die. And I
Right.
think that's a fundamental mistake because instead of dealing with real life situations on earth, they're waiting until they die and they're going to be transformed, magically. Now, I do believe, as we said earlier, we are spirit, mind, and body. So what we do on earth affects our afterlife, but we're not just magically transformed because of a belief system that, you can be a bum on earth and then boom, you believe in Jesus and you're going to be at the head table with Jesus and all the saints and sages. And yet most people would believe that. They're taught that, the pie in the sky, glory when you die.
Well, it's interesting when you really think about it. Christianity is the world's richest religion. American congregations receive $74.5 billion a year. For every $4 Americans give to charity, almost $3 go to religious institutions. 77% of tithers give even more than 10% of their earnings to the church. An average congregation has an annual income of about $242,910. U.S. faith-based enterprises have a combined annual revenue of over $378 billion per year. So apparently there's a lot of money that's given to churches that a lot of monies that, the Catholic Church is worth $30 billion alone right now. The Catholic Church made $16.2 million less in 2018 than in 2017, $36 million in 2017, and $19.8 million in 2000. Look at that, $16.2 million less from one year to the next. That, apparently, some of the news going on with these Catholic preachers is really starting to make people say, maybe I don't want to go and give to the Catholic Church anymore.
Right.
But apparently, when you look at these statistics, when we look at all of this, we talk about, is it their responsibility? Have we lost the moral compass in America? Just look at this. A Tale of Two Cities. 168 churches in Louisville's West End versus 68 churches in the East End. Crime is way worse in the West End. I don't know. Maybe we need to get some of these churches out of the West End in order to dwindle down some of the crime, maybe, or does it just boil down to money?
Well, let's think about it like this.
And it'd be interesting. I've never seen any study of the people committing the violence. Are they churchgoers versus non-churchgoers? That would be very interesting because maybe it's a reaction.
So let's think
6
of
times
this.
3 is 18. So they're 3 times more likely to be churchgoers than
Well,
in the East End.
not necessarily, because most of the West Louisville churches when you look at the numbers, the average congregation was about 300. Where those other neighborhoods were about a congregation of representing about 1,000 people.
Right. Well, here's another thing you got to think about too, is there's big business in churching. Okay, it just is what it is, right? And as long as there's tragedy and misery and crisis and all that kind of stuff going on, there will be a need for spiritual guidance. There'll be a need for the much. So if we fix all of these issues, then what becomes the purpose of the church? See, most people kind of go to the church when they're broken or when they have problems. I was the exact opposite. I got into religion or into my spirituality because I was counting my blessings. I want to be thankful for the blessings that I was, endowed with by God. So if we always have, a crisis, or if you don't fix these crises, kind of like crime, as long as there's crime, there'll always be a police department, and there'll always be taxes, and there'll always be funding, and all of this. So it's kind of one of these necessary things that people say, oh, well, you know, like I said, Louisville, if you look at the crime rate in the West End compared to the East End, that kind of, oh man, it's a hurting society, it's a hurting world. Oh man, these people need God more than anything in the world, right? So now you have churches. Let me open this church because I want to help people. But what ends up happening is they get in on some of that money. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, real quick, folks, we're gonna run jump to commercial real quick. We got Uncle Meshorn here. I don't know if he is going to speak on the event or what have you, but either way, maybe one of you guys reach out to him via text or call while we're on commercial break, and we'll figure that out. But either way, folks, again, remember, this is the Truth Be Told show. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Truth Be Told, for allowing God's Lives Matter to be a sponsor. Wearable Products, as the purple t-shirt, is bearing witness every life created by God has infinite value. Visit God'sLivesMatter.com.
All right, cue the music.
Cue music.
Start the music.
Starting music.
And go.
It's the Truth Be Told show, where we place America first. Honoring those who America has forgotten. Listen in and unlearn to relearn. As we set the record straight. And now, your host of the Truth Be Told show, Mr. Just Ask Joe and Uncle Meshorn.
All right. We're back, and we got Uncle Meshorn with us. He is out there at in the streets at this Spirit in Action Collaborative Conference. Uncle Meshorn, you there? He may be so enthralled with the conference that he's just having such a great time there.
He may be on mute too. I'm not sure because his
He said his sound isn't working.
Yeah, he just left, so he'll be back in when he taps in. You know, when you really look at this and you really think about all of this, the root of violence is low self-esteem and self-respect. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's a factor. That was something our co-host Marcus Ray had brought up.
Yeah, I think, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's your choice, because whether to commit violence or not, because if you don't, then if you do, then what ends up happening is you suffer the consequences and not all of the factors that may have caused you to commit these violences. So,
Meshorn, when you look at that, low self-esteem, low self-respect, is that anything that's echoed there at the conference as to a culprit behind urban violence? Uncle Meshorn, you there? All right,
Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Hey, if I thank you for getting me on, man. But listen, I haven't made it to the conference yet. Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong, and it is what it is. I'm just down the street from it and everything. So I'm just not gonna be able to give that report. That's what my whole point was calling you.
Not a problem. Not a problem. With that in mind, then we talked about this the other day. The root of violence and low self-esteem. The root of violence is low self-esteem and self-respect. Now, if you say that to any one individual, especially who's living in the midst of the problematic violence and this, that, and the other, they're not going to admit to that. They're not going to say, yeah, I have low self-esteem and low self-respect. I love my brothers. This is my people's right here. This is my neighborhood. This is my everything right here. They're not going to say that they have low anything, but it would be obvious that they have low funds, right? Whether they are illegally making money or legally, then, unless you done took your money, invested in your house, and you got the dopest crib on the block, then ultimately you talking about people with low funds in comparison. I mean, let's go back to this this over here, this chart, median household income. Let's look at this here. I'm sorry, let me pull this back up. But A Tale of Two Cities, East End versus West End. Basically, this is written 2013, and the problems have gotten worse. So we know that these numbers are probably worse off now than before. But median household income, $21,733. Median household income, $59,600. So I know that the median household income is higher now versus in 2013 in the East End, and probably higher in the West End as well. But the disparity has gotten greater. Anybody want to speak to that?
Hey, Joe, can I jump in there real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and I'm man, you're very good to pull that up. Stop ignoring the West End. And your brother, Uncle Meshon, and Peter knows this firsthand, I participated in getting the second half of that reprint of that event because, Peter, do you remember? They kept the churches out of it. Leonard, y'all remember me talking about it? We went to the conference, and I asked the editor, where is the churches in this whole thing? Do you have the one with the churches in it?
Yeah, it's right here.
Right here. All right, there it is. That's the second edition, fellas. The original intent was to keep the churches off of it. When I brought it to their attention that the churches wasn't there, I remember the editor of Louisville Magazine, he gave me that deer-like look. And he said, Meshon, I got all that information sitting right on our desk, but in the European community, the churches doesn't play any economic value in our community. I said, wrong answer in our community. It plays everything in our community. Isn't that interesting that it was left out?
But does it play an economic value in either community, or is it more of a social value?
Well, because I'm almost to the conference right now. I'm gonna let you all figure that out, because think about it. Who's always at the head in our community when it's talking about economic things in our community? Peter, you know
Not
this.
the church. Not the church.
Pastors, yeah. Oh,
yeah. And no pastors talking economic nothing in no community.
In nobody else's community, right?
When the mayor has a meeting, and Meshon's been to a couple of them, it's led by either Kevin Cosby or someone else, and or the Black Ministers Coalition. And even though they have very little experience in economics and business, they're put at the head of the table.
At the head of the table, but are they there to pray? Because I've been to a few of those meetings with the mayor, and they come in and they pray.
Oh, you haven't been to no, we talking about the meetings where I've been in the meetings where I actually got called out because I said, you pastors, remember this, Peter?
Yep.
You need to stay in your lane. And remember I told you what happened? Reverend Smith got angry at me because I said, listen up, man. How are you sitting up here talking about things of economic value as religious leaders in our community, and not one economic person sitting here to talk about it is sitting here, and you are. And he said, remember, Peter? And Adolf was there. I'm not going to have you sit here and talk to me that way. And Kevin Cosby stood up and gave his hand and said, like Don Juan, calm him down and everything. I was there, brother. That's the problem.
So okay, so they're at the table with the mayor, but they don't bring economic value back to the church to the people.
Well, that's
Because I mean, really, when you really look at what you're saying, and what you said to them, my thing would have been, hey, why are y'all here when the majority of people in your church, when the majority of people in your church are poor?
Yep, and they're single. Most of them are single moms with kids.
Exactly.
All right. Bringing economic value back to the community actually decreases the need for all of these churches. Right?
Exactly.
Because now you can focus more or less on spiritual types of things rather than economic things. All right. And no, that means that somebody's not going to get some money, and that goes to show that there's a lot of money in the West End community that's going to churches from poor people.
Oh yeah, they're told that if you give your 10%, you got your seat in the kingdom of heaven when you die. Once go back, and 10%'s not bad for a place in the kingdom of heaven and a mansion made of gold, Leonard.
Right. You get my father's house. My father's house has many mansions and all different types of things. So what you're investing is in an afterlife. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not trying to make the life that you have, which is, and I agree with you, Peter, is if life is a gift, then how can you disregard the life that you already have, okay, and not try to live the best possible life that you could have if it's a gift? They say, as it is on earth, so shall it be in heaven. So if you disregard your life here on earth, why would you have any special regard for your afterlife in heaven if that's the case? So, and on that note, guys, I gotta go ahead and bounce. I got my 10 o'clock meeting. So.
All right, Brother Leonard, we appreciate you, man. And again, thank you so much for dropping in with us today. Love you, brother.
Love you guys too. Peace.
Hey, take care, Leonard. Hey, Joe, one thing very important on that.
All right.
Yeah, what I was about to say, when you look at those statistics between West Louisville and other neighborhoods, the two indicators of poverty is educational level and percentage of married couples. Because obviously 2 people breadwinners versus 1, is a big difference. And look at the numbers, about 60,000 versus 21,000. Well, nationally, if you have a college degree, you earn, the average is about 60,000. If you have a high school degree, it's about 32,000. If you're a high school dropout, it's about 18,000. So look at those numbers.
Yeah. I think when you really think about it, that's hitting the nail on the head. Would you say education and marriage, right?
Yeah, married. When you have a married couple, or even if they're not married, they're together for a long time. There's 2 breadwinners trying to raise kids versus a single parent. Especially if it's a single parent that has very little education or skills, that's 2 recipes for disaster. And those are really the core issues of people having an education or a skill set, that they can get, as you've been in sales your whole life. You don't have to have a education to be a good salesperson and make a very good living in our society.
No,
Or
sales is probably one of the highest
yeah,
incomes that you can be a part of. It's just about, finding sales, depending on what you're selling. But I mean, if you got any sales job that gives you uncapped potential, meaning especially if it's
commission based.
you make money based on what you sell,
Yeah.
each item that you sell or what have you, that's uncapped, and you can, as hard as you ever want to work, make as much money as you ever want to. It's funny how the biggest things, I look at things like I'm a life insurance agent. So, you know, money, the financial industry has less than, I think, 3% minorities and probably less than 1% melanated people in the financial industry as a whole. Yet that piece is the one thing that we as a melanated community need.
Yeah.
More than anything else, we need that one piece. And you don't need a high school education, college, or anything to become a financial advisor and manage millions of dollars worth of people's money, or to become a life insurance agent to do the same and help protect generational wealth as a life insurance agent. And both of those people make hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars a year. And I mean, I know guys who financial advisors that wake up January 1st of every year to renewals that have them millions of dollars every year before they even get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm just like, you would think that if there's this much lack of education in the community, that people would say, well, how can I make the most money that I can as an uneducated person? Bro, the number one thing would be the financial industry. All you got to do at that point is to get, certified. That's a matter of just studying and taking tests. That's it. But I think the lack of information and understanding the weight of all of that. I mean, I never grew up saying, oh man, I just want to be a life insurance agent when I get older. No, I said I wanted to make money, and I wanted to control my my time. So this is where it landed me. So I don't know, Peter, I don't understand when it comes to even that piece right there. But
well, one lock hold is our public education system. A lot of low income, even middle class, are stuck in public education, and they're not geared to entrepreneurship and independence. They're geared to creating worker bees.
Maybe that's where I cut out of high school. I cut out mentally in my junior year when I actually went and was living on my own. And then, I didn't graduate high school. But I mean, you wouldn't know that unless I told you.
Sure.
I mean, I was an engineer for Bell South. What did that require? That required me to take a basic electronics test, to study for that, take a basic electronics test. And, here I am, 21 years old in Miami, making $60,000 a year.
And you're making as much as someone with a bachelor's degree from college.
Exactly. And it's just, I learned how to talk to people, and sales management and business ownership have been the three things that I've pretty much done my whole life. And I just look at the fact that, I mean, there's plenty of stuff I could say I could do better, be better at, could have been better at throughout the years, where education might have helped me be better at that and all of that good stuff. But I just look at it and I say, man, we lack in all of those places. We're not the people at the top when it comes to walking into most businesses, management, supervisors, whatever. We're not the as much when it comes to business ownership. You can see that right here on this paperwork here, this picture. And when it comes to sales, we're not the grave majority out there that are in the sales force. So there's a grave amount of us that work for the government, state, local, federal government.
That's politics. That's why the Democratic Party, 95% of descendant American slaves vote Democrat, and they get government jobs in return.
Yeah. So I tell you, man, it's a tough thing when you really start looking at this.
So here's where the religious leaders, because they're tied in with the Democratic leadership. That's why the mayors and governors, they come to these pastors for economic development who don't know couldn't run a hot dog stand, but they're votes. So they come to them and give them a lot of money for so-called economic development. I've talked to so many pastors that have big congregations. Say, do you have a business going selling, staples, sugar, flour, the old.
Well, I like what Cosby did at his church. They created this business atmosphere out there. They got like a market out there with different businesses out there. There's a few of them out there like that.
One challenge though is they used to have a pretty good restaurant there. We would go one Friday and eat there, and then the next 2 Fridays they were closed.
Now Uncle Michon is on site there. Finally, I see his badge he got on his shirt and whatnot. So how's it looking out there?
Man, we look like we have multiple people here and everything. And I just learned and talking to a few people, we got people from all over the state of Kentucky. Actually, had some people come from Indiana and Cincinnati to be at this conference. So, but what my immediate I want to acknowledge is that we are in the West End community and everything. And the dominant majority of people who are here don't look like the community. Hey, Peter, how many meetings we have been to? Like,
go ahead and pan around and show us what the whole place looks like.
Yeah, people. Yeah. It's funny because some people say, well, we got to solve our own problem. But when you have programs like this, as Michon, it's more even
do a 360, Michon. Do a whole 360. I want to see the whole place.
Okay, I'm trying to do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We are on a conference call having this discussion about this event. How you doing? Say hello.
Hello.
Hey, all right. Hey, here I am with someone. Where you come from?
I'm from St. Williams.
St. Williams. Yes. All right. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome, and thank you for having us.
No problem.
Where's St. Williams? I've never even
Williams.
I don't know exactly where that's at.
That's in old Louisville.
Okay.
Hey, I want to make sure I get Judd to actually organize a part of this conference. We are live on our talk show. Everything.
Awesome.
What's up, Judd?
What's going on? Michon?
Hey, this is Truth Be Told, and
look at all these
Peter
great conversations that are happening.
Yes, I was telling them that with this conversation that's occurring here, but I want to say, Judd, we are in the West End community.
We are.
Okay.
We're right on Broadway.
The dominant majority of people here don't look like the West End community.
They do not.
So, and they see.
We got white people in the hood. White people in the hood.
Why is it that every time that I go to these meetings about the people who are the most affected by the things that we're talking about, but the people who need to be here, the leaders that need to be here, don't look like the community? Come and talk to that for a minute.
Oh, I don't know if I can address that one.
Come on, now, don't be afraid.
Well, why is that? I mean, that's because our community's segregated. Yeah, I mean, we're not connecting across our differences. And
what do you think?
I think that we welcome everybody to be here.
Right.
So we've invited as many as we could.
You sent how big was your list?
Several thousand.
Several thousands. Peter Hayes. Listen to that. Listen to that, bro. We have had multiple people all over the community been called, but the predominant people who showed up don't look like the community.
I don't want to put out there as a challenge. I want to put it out there as an invitation.
That's right. But the invitation has already been sent out. This is the result of the invitation, and so we have to ignore. I'm a military guy,
And now we have a challenge.
All right, we're gonna have to move on.
Go ahead. No problem. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, who is that brother behind you that walked up?
Hey, look at you. You know this person here. I know. Look at him. Say,
Hey. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. This is Bishop Dr. Stephen Kelsey. Oh, man, you here with everybody, Marshawn. All right. God bless everybody in this space. Man, you all right, Marshawn.
Man, Marshawn got 18 different ways to pronounce his name. And he can't get people to pronounce it just the one way. I think that's his that's
yeah, you're right. They jack my name up all the time. Hey, I got to go to the conference, bro. Let me get back in here.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Take care.
That might be punishment for how he jacks up other people's names and stuff as well. But you know, that is interesting when you start talking about that. The fact that you have, you know, these events happen like this all the time. You know, and even if it is a majority of people representative of the community that are there, guess what? It's still just a few people. It's not. I mean, I've been to the, you know, health events out there at the sports center and the what do you call it, the African American Heritage Museum and stuff like that. And at these events, man, you don't see a lot of. I mean, even when it is majority us there, it's still not packed. You're like, good Lord, they got a bunch of food here that's gonna go to waste. Little fruit cups and everything, vegetable cups. Maybe that's what it was. One person went there, saw the vegetable and fruit cups, and went back and told the whole hood and said, "Don't come. They ain't got no chicken."
Ribs, barbecue.
Exactly. But you know, it's like, why is that? Where is the disconnect? What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I've been working in the community, not just African American, but other communities for 40 years. And the level of citizen engagement is very, very low. And like I said, here's a good example. So I helped start Martin Luther King Day of Service. We've been doing it for 21 years now. And the vast majority of volunteers on MLK Day are European Americans who want to honor Dr. King by going out and serve the community. And we'll go into most of the projects, though, we're in West Louisville, Old Louisville, poor areas because they need the most help. And people ask, well, where's all the local people? And now there's economic reasons for that because, as you know, if people are just trying to survive, they're not able to, if they're just trying to survive, asking them to come out and volunteer is a big deal. It's like, I need to put some food on the table. So that's a practical reality. But these type of conferences, spirituality and, doesn't go over too well in certain parts of the community. And I think part of it is we've talked about it, this whole idea that, racism is the cause of everything and all, when it's a part of it, but it's not the end all be all. And if you believe that and you taught that, then, if it's not dealing with, hey, we want to get angry at these folks or protest this, we're trying to build something. Nah, it ain't gonna work. So
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I had a conversation yesterday with a brother, I was setting him up with an insurance plan. I just met him yesterday, talked to him over the phone and set him up with the plan. But, his mindset when he was talking, this is a 70-year-old brother, 14 years in the military. He's retired now and apparently did a great job because he's, doing well for himself. He just bought a house 2 years ago, which is, I mean, I don't know if it's his first house or not, but I mean, buying a house at 68 years old is, $200,000 $56,000 home at 68. That's I want to be by 68. I definitely don't want to be buying a new home at 68 years old. So, but I'm just saying his mentality was, as he was talking to me, was all about how the Republicans been messing us over for years and this and that and this and that. No basis, foundation of anything, no understanding of even how Republican the melanated community was many years before. It's been that way since the 30s, man. The Republicans been messing us over. And I'm just like, I'm listening because, that's my job at that point is to listen. And I'm not there to interject my opinion. But it's kind of disheartening because here you got somebody who I'm supposed to look up to that gives unfounded, claims, no basis for, and no accountability to say, hey, you know what? Because he's doing good for himself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? He's doing good for himself. He's able to afford a $200-something a month premium policy from me. He's doing good for himself, and he didn't get there by accident. He did something in life that allowed him to get to that point. So Republican, Democrat, whatever, this, that, and the other, he did what he did himself to get to where he's at. And that's the accountability issue. Screw whether you think it's Republican, Democrat, or this, that, and the other. I mean, we've been voting Democrat as a majority of people for over 50 years now. 2 + 2 = 4 to me. That should kind of tell you something that maybe we should try something different, but insanity does as insanity is, right?
Think about it. This gets to leadership. If your spiritual leaders, political leaders, and educational leaders are pushing this one line, this liberal, blame society, you're not responsible, someone else is holding you down. And you're teaching kids that, it's amazing that anybody comes out of that being an entrepreneur and being positive and say, hey, I can make a successful life in America. It's really a miracle in some ways.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, let's just be real. For any and everybody, we're all on a plantation, white, black, yellow, and blue. And people need to truly understand and admit that, considering the fact that every other country has emperors and kings and queens and monarchs and stuff like that, we've got presidents and vice presidents and secretary of state. We have corporate named, titled people. And when you look at, 1865, 1871, when America incorporated the United States. So we went from being America to the United States of America. I mean, again, 2 + 2 = 4. This is a corporation that we're in. We, as a people, white, black, yellow, and blue, are the products. And, they due to systemic things that have gone on for many years, we've narrowed down the different demographics of people that are going to do this, that, and the other, so they can forecast things years beyond and then get money based on those forecasts. To borrow and utilize here in America. And, they call it a free nation, but the reality is that we all are under the thumb of our producers or our, what do we call it? If we're the product, then who's the people that create the product? Our manufacturers. There we go. We're all under the thumb of our manufacturers. So, with that being said, you would think that people, that understand that 2 + 2 = 4 and can utilize common sense, look and see what's going on, would say, you know what, this ain't a white and black issue. We all need to come together because this is a issue of the products against the manufacturer. This is the elite, those 60 families that run, the United States of America against the sub elite, right?
Yep. The economic elites run the political elites, and yeah, they're all benefiting off of the things in society. And shucks, there's big money in crime and violence. Look at prisons, judges.
Oh, absolutely.
How many government jobs are dealing with poverty?
And they forecast these numbers from the time that children are in elementary. They forecast these numbers that allow them to know how many prisons they're going to need from the time kids are in elementary. So ultimately,
funny, you heard this, school to prison pipeline. What I said, which some people challenge, is the womb to prison. Because if you're born in a single parent poverty situation in the hood or in Appalachia, it's almost from a womb situation. Because by the time they get to school, they're lost. If the parents aren't really, lifting up the kid, nurturing the kid to be, educationally sound, teach them how to read. I've talked to some teacher, believe it or not, that some kids come to kindergarten, know how to read. Other kids don't even know their colors. They can't say blue, green, red. So how is that, what's their trajectory in life, at 5 years old? Because they're going to get so far behind. It'll take them 3, 4, 5 years to learn how to read, and they're being ridiculed. It's real. When kids can't read, and illiteracy is a huge issue. Here's a statistic that I learned over the years. So 85% of all prisons, local, state, and federal, are two factors: single parent families and illiteracy. So think about that. It's what we talked about earlier. If you cannot read, you cannot really learn. And then if you come from a single parent family, not all single parent families are like that, but
we know that, and I'm glad you said that, because people take things, the wrong way all the time. We're talking in majority. We know that they're not all like that, but we're talking in majority when it comes to, because the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
So,
85, 90%. And it's across ethnicities, Asian, European American, Hispanic. If you come from especially fatherless homes, that's why we started Man Up before, to really encourage men to man up and take care of their kids and be better fathers and husbands. But, it's so funny. Do you really ever hear that in the community? Joe, is that the driving force when you talk to people? Like, why are you in the bad situation you are? Do you hear it much? I don't know.
What, to hear people say, well, it's because I didn't have a father in the home?
Well, if you talk to leaders and, they're trying to hustle us for money and blah, 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 are they saying, yeah, we need to get fathers back in the home and, teach women not to be having sex out of wedlock?
No, that's you don't hear that talk. And again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier.
Have you ever heard that in a church recently?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. You're not hearing that. You're not hearing economic information. I only know, like I said, and I, Pastor Keith, Grace Fellowship Church over in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Good friend of mine and someone who I look up to. He always talks business and such. He talks economic things. He's a prophet. So he told people years ago that 2018, 19, you need to be, storing up food, getting ready, focusing on your health, get your money right, blah, 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 because we're going to be hitting some hard times. But he owns his own business, a cleaning service. And with him, he speaks to a lot of that, and he speaks to talking about speaking things into existence, and he talks about those things. There's not many pastors out there that do that. You know, I don't know of many or any at all. Every pastor typically is going to give you a feel-good message about what, you know, God is doing in the world today, and you know how, you know, they're not giving you things that are tangible for the here and the now, for the everyday, for you to wake up when people are deciding between gas and food. You know what I mean? That's the conversation that should be had in the church.
Yeah. You know, I go to a lot of, since we're talking about the DAS churches and testimony time. Well, I couldn't pay my LG&E bill, and the Lord gave me enough money to pay it. Well, come on. Is in the grand scheme of things, is God, you know, paying everyone's bills when that's our responsibility? It's kind of like really basic stuff. It's not like, you know, I'm working on world peace or to solve issues.
I'm inclined to agree with you. You know, I've seen people stand up and talk about credit cards they received in the mail and out the blue and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, bro, that's like debt. Stop. Like, it's not even a testimony. That's embarrassing.
And thanking God for waking us up in the morning. Yeah, that's that's important. But you know, what happened when you don't wake up? Should you curse God then when you don't wake up that morning?
Yeah, exactly. You know, or when family member doesn't wake up that morning because they died, you know, is it problem? But you know, we teach these things, and again, it's almost like that things happened. You know, there was an intent by someone many years ago, and the ball just kept rolling, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. That's kind of what it seems like. So,
you know, one thing is interesting with that article showed, and Michon was right. Me and him both spoke to the publisher. The first edition did not have the comparison of churches. So when we spoke with him, you know, he was not aware that the Black church is so a powerful engine in the Black community. And so we brought that to his attention. So, yeah, dude, it's the number one institution in the Black community. It controls a lot of finances, education, you know, less and less now, but especially historically. So like Michon said, in that second edition, he put those numbers in there, and it came up with the disparity, you know, pretty much 3-to-1 of, and if you take that 60,000 population, so for every 1,000 residents, there's about one church in West Louisville, and in that other neighborhood they looked at, it was basically for every 3,000 people there was one church. So what that tells you also, and the West Louisville churches are very small. They're storefronts, like you said, and they're almost like family churches because people have a hard time working together to build institutions.
Yeah, it's almost like somebody got mad at somebody, went up the street, got this building, and opened the church, or they took their house that they live in, and because the area was zone C1 or whatever, then they went ahead and you know, did a church storefront type situation. And I mean, it's kind of retarded.
It's a family church, and it's a business that I'll never forget. On one corner of West Louisville, there was 4 different Baptist churches storefronts, and I knew them all, so I met with them, and I actually proposed, say, you know, because I would talk to them and say, yeah, you know, Reverend Hayes, yeah, you know, I'd ask them, are you doing ministry full time? No, I got a full time job. We're just struggling to pay our LG&E. They're literally struggling to death to pay their LG&E and keep their rent. And so I told them, well, why don't, you know, you got 4 family churches, very small, with a couple dozen members. Why don't you create one church, and then each pastor can preach one Sunday of the month?
Yeah.
Now, to me, it seemed reasonable. Then you cut out 3 LG&E bills, 3 mortgages, and you can actually
you got pastors and deacons right there within them 4 churches.
Yeah. And I said, then you can have money to do ministry in the neighborhood, because that's really your goal. Yeah, we'd love to do that, but we, you know, every dollar, and all these pastors were putting money from their work into the church to keep it afloat. And so, you know, anyway, but that idea was like, nah, you know, because they all wanted to be their own king, you know, the king of their church. So they'd rather, instead of working together to build something a little bit bigger and actually impact the neighborhood, they were going to keep on keeping on. And a couple of those churches end up closing down, because when I went by recently, I think only 1 or 2 of them were open.
I remember recently, well, not recently, but years ago, I used to give my tithes, and I was doing very well for myself. And when I would give my tithes to this one smaller church, and I'm not gonna say no names or nothing like that. Church just had a recent pastoral celebration. But when I would go into that church and give my tithes, man, I mean, they would the pastor would, it was embarrassing for me, but the pastor, so what I tried to do was turn it into an opportunity to speak on tithing, and that's kind of what ended up happening after a while. Was whenever it was ready to give tithes, then they would refer to me. I would speak up or whatever, because I mean the amount of tithes that I would give was like more than like the whole church as a whole, and here I'm giving 200 to 500 or more in tithes every Sunday.
That's huge.
And so and it was embarrassing because there was a something between me and the church, me and God, so to speak. I mean, really, it's not for me to even say what the pastor does with the money. That's the reality. That's just between me, God, the universe, my ideal of giving and receiving. But I would speak about it and talk about, hey, I'm blessed because I give. That was more or less my message. I ain't worried about what the pastor's doing with the money.
I mean, I think, as you know, the power of the mind, whatever you believe comes to fruition by and large.
Yeah.
So whether it's a reality or not, if you, believe something and you work on it in life,
it becomes so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but,
if you think about prosperity and success all the time, guess what? Prosperity, success seems to get to you. But if you're always down and depressed and blaming other people, it's hard to get out of that funk. You could give someone a opportunity on a platter, but no, that gold, here's a gold on a platter. Well, I don't like the way that shines. I'd rather have platinum.
And that's one of the reasons why, even when we start talking rebuilding 2-parent, 3-generational families, teaching emotional intelligence, things of that nature. These are things that when you focus on moving past your current situation, that's mindset. Focusing on moving past your current situation is absolute mindset. And when it comes to that, people have to focus on doing that if you want to actually move past your current situation. You can't, if you're continually just focused on the worst of what's going on right now, then that's all you're gonna get. But if you can focus on moving forward, building a future, the things that you want in life, they become so as you focus more on that, but again, I think that everything that does happen and is going on focuses on dumbing people down. And that's kind of the case. But either way, man, it's been another great show here at the Truth Be Told show. We had a lot of conversation, went live on site there at the Spirit in Action Collaborative. And hopefully something comes out of that. They figure something out and somebody does something and something great happens out of that. We can all hope for that. But with that being said, Peter Hayes, Better Days with Peter Hayes. Appreciate you. And until next week.
All right, Joe. Take care, and for all our audience, have a blessed week.
All right, man. Peace.
All right, cue the music.
Cue music.
Start the music.
Starting music.
And go.
It's the Truth Be Told show, where we place America first. Honoring those who America has forgotten. Listen in and unlearn to relearn. As we set the record straight. And now, your host of the Truth Be Told show, Mr. Just Ask Joe and Uncle Nishorn.